Hello, hello. We're waiting just for a few more people to join us. Very happy to have you here with us on this, as Keith was just saying to me in the back room here, the first of our webinars for the upcoming academic and admission cycle.
That's for
Very
our
happy to have you here with
2027.
us.
Or 20, class of 2029.
Ooh. Yeah, where does the time go, right? We were just talking about how incredible it is that we are welcoming the class of 2028 this week. They're wrapping up their residency in just a couple of days. They've been here with us on campus. So it's just really been an exciting time to be in New Haven at Yale SOM, welcoming our brand new batch of students. It's just really exciting and such great energy. And hopefully, this can be you potentially as you consider our program. So, welcome everyone. My name is Emily Whitehouse. I'm one of our associate directors of admission for the MBA for Executives program at Yale SOM, the School of Management. And I'm joined here by none other but our MBA admissions director, Keith Gallinelli. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. We're looking forward to kicking off our presentation today, and hopefully we'll be seeing you on campus in the near future. But Emily, I'll turn it right over to you. I think you're going to kick everything off, and then I'll come back in a little bit.
Yes, sir. Correct. So, this is just a brief high level overview of what you can expect from our session today, whether you're just beginning in your exploration of our program, or this is an idea you maybe have been kicking around for a little while in your mind and you're really ready to take the plunge and go for an application this year. We're really glad you're here. So, for our session today, we'll be having a nice full program overview so you can anticipate that. And then we will dive into the admissions process and share with you the nuts and bolts of that experience with us. And then we'll talk about guidance on any potential next steps you might want to take based on this presentation today. And the photo here that we're highlighting is the Star Reading Room, which is one of the beautiful spaces that you have the ability to be a part of in the Sterling Memorial Library, one of the beautiful representations of Gothic architecture across Yale's storied campus. So, as you probably know, Yale University is quite old. Our university is over 320 years old now. And so, while this place where we get to spend our time and our students are learning throughout the 22 months in our program, is quite old. Yale SOM is a little bit of a younger school within our program. That said, this is a space for innovation. So, of course, you'll see here a quick example of our Russell Library, which is in the building known as Evans Hall, which is where our students spend their days. So this is a little bit of a more modern space, and you will know lots of glass. It's really a beautiful modern building juxtaposed against this very rich, storied tradition of Yale University. But all of this is accessible to you as you spend your time with us at Yale. So really, I'm looking forward to sharing more about our mission, first of all, which is, of course, educating leaders for business and society. This is the mission that calls all prospective students into our really rich and robust learning environment. So this mission, this is one that is really core to who we are and what we do. Of course, it's easy to say, but it's much harder to do. And so I would argue that our students are really lit up and inspired by this being our mission. And if you're walking around campus, if you get out for an opportunity to come visit us on campus, you can talk to faculty, students, staff. All of us can really, speak to this mission. And beyond that, we also have an exciting milestone, which is 50 years as a business school. So we are hitting this wonderful milestone as a community, and you'll probably see lots of great information and stories in the media highlighting all of the incredible impacts that our students have had individually and collectively. And of course, we talk often a lot about our community and what it means to us. We're a community of purpose more community on purpose. And so these are some really great photos, actually from last week. So these are very recent photos of the orientation and residency period that takes place on campus over 2 weeks in our program. So that's the longest duration you're ever on campus for, but it's also really meaningful because you're forming those tight bonds that will serve you throughout the 22 months and for life. So these are our students, all suited up in their casual wear as they're just getting to know one another just a couple of days into the program. And really, I think the photos that are coming online now are further examples of our community and the way it integrates with our broader home university. You'll see a great photo of the class of 2018 outside of that beautiful Sterling Memorial Library. And then our alumni panel, there in the center. Our alums love coming back and engaging with our community and sharing all of the things that they're doing out in the world in representation of our school. And then on the bottom left, it's just a great kind of casual opportunity. We've got Barry Nailbuff, who is an expert in negotiation on our faculty, and he's doing a slow jog with our students. So it goes to show that because of the way our program is built, it just creates a lot of fantastic opportunities for a close connection. And so people that are looking into this program, what are they looking to do? Really, our folks are engaged. They're incredibly engaging to spend your time with. They're inspired by the mission, and they're really inspiring to get to know because they are experienced leaders in their space. These are people who have come to a level in their career evolution. They've come to a point in time when they're realizing that they might be that big fish in their own pond. And it's time to branch out. It's time to become the student again and to learn from others in a way that's going to accelerate them and give them access to incredibly rich academic life and also a wonderful network of peers. Keith and I talk about this all the time. Students become one another's board of advisors for their lives, for their professional and personal lives through their time in this program. And that's something that is built really carefully. And over time, it can be just so unbelievably invaluable. And next, a quick look at the class of 2028. So here's our fabulous class. This photo was taken again just last week with handsome Dan right front and center. He's our lovely mascot, and it's really fun to have him engaging with the students too. You'll see here some of our statistics. We've got an average of 15 years of experience, an average age of about 35. But for us, it's less about age, it's less about years. It's kind of more about where you are in this moment in time. That previous graphic, are you in that moment in time that you're thinking it's time to be the student again? It's time to continue growing and developing in a way that will allow you to branch out and to continue your personal journey. You'll see also the number of our students have advanced degrees and many citizenships are represented, as Yale is truly, in our view, one of the most global, if not the most global US business school.
Yeah, and I say as we get into some of the introductions of our students as well, it is
Mhm.
true that a lot of our students do have these terminal degrees. They have JDs, they have MDs, they have PhDs even, but they realize that there's something lacking, there's something missing. Like they become technically expert in the field that they're in, but then they realize that maybe they've been tasked with maybe creating strategy or leading larger teams or managing larger budgets, and they really just don't have the background for that. And so did want to kind of introduce you to some of our students that have graduated in the last couple of years. There's a lot of profiles up on our website. You can kind of get a sense for who the students are. And maybe I'll start with David's son. He just graduated this year. He's the Vice President and Senior Director of Transformation Solutions at Liberty Mutual Insurance. And, one of the reasons he came here is he said he was in a very traditional organization. Insurance happens to be, they're very risk adverse, but they have a lot of challenges that are facing them right now. Or it could be the weather. Right now, it's actually a huge thunderstorm happening outside of our windows. But these energy transitions, there's cyber risks, and there's new types of coverages that their customers are looking for. He's more on the actuarial side and a numbers person, but he realized that there's ways that AI can help him think better, and there's business case strategies that can help him really see the big picture future. And that's one of the reasons that he came into our program is he wanted to have that strategic thinking and that exposure to business in a variety of different areas where he really had no experience before. And that also leads me to Jasmine Brown. She is a senior producer for ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, and they just won their fourth Emmy, I believe, for the evening news. But she also had a very similar background where she's in the media. And she said that, the media as a whole is really changing rapidly. The idea of broadcast media is kind of going away. And they're seeing shifting revenue streams and how people are subscribing and how viewers' behavior is changing. And she said that when she came into this program, she really wanted to get a better understanding of the business behind journalism. She loves her job, she loves what she does, but she also knows that it's at risk. It really is at risk. And she wants to be thinking of what's next. I just had the opportunity to have breakfast with her just the other day with a couple of prospective students. And, as she's looking back on it, she really did find it transformative. And she's looking towards those next steps in her career. So definitely it was an opportunity for her to like break out of her comfort zone. She actually did do our Brazil Rainforest Global Network Week, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it was something that she had never done before. I really found that was quite interesting. And maybe I'll just mention Paul Gordon as well. I also had the opportunity to meet with him recently out in Salt Lake City. He had some challenges. I mean, it's not easy for people to come to campus every other weekend for 2 years. He has three young children, and he was coming in from Salt Lake City. We have a number of our students that travel from around the country to do this program, but he was able to carve out that time, get support both from his work and from his family. And he had a very interesting story where he proposed a new idea to his company for a new business unit, basically. And they loved the idea. And they said, well, great, Paul, now that you've proposed it, you can head it up. And so he's recently changed his job, but it was directly related to all of the different courses that he had taken in our program. And he wrote up a very nice article, which is up on our website in the news section about some of these changes that he made and some of the ways that it really affected him, in his career. And so, Emily, maybe I'll just turn it back over to you for a bit, and then I'll jump back in a second.
Sounds great. Thanks, Keith. So now you might be wondering, how does it work? How are you going to make this work with your already very busy lives and careers? Our students there were great representation of people that are making it work, that are having, a lot of different things that they need to prioritize and think about. Some distance traveled there as well was represented. So all of that to say, the time required on campus, it is a 22-month program, and it starts each July with a 2-week in-person residency, as referenced a couple of times. That's what our students are doing right now. And then it's class every other Friday and Saturday for the duration of this time from August to May. In June, as you're wrapping up year one and kicking into year two, that is the Global Week. So that is our experience in which we are spending time, as we are the founding member of the Global Network for Advanced Management. And so our students are actually getting away and sharing in some interesting opportunities with other business schools from around the world, and taking their learnings from year one and really applying them in interesting ways. And then really rolling into July of their final year. And so that is residency, in which you're getting kicked into the second year curriculum, some of the more advanced topics that you're going to be covering, as well as electives. So you're kicking into that. And so it is what amounts to roughly 60 days out of the office, and it is an in-person program. All right. And so then a sample class weekend, so how you will generally be spending your time over the course of the program would be that you are taking part in courses that start Friday, 9 a.m. sharp. The weekends are pretty full, pretty structured, you'll see. So classes start promptly 9 a.m. Friday and go all the way through until 5:30 p.m. There's, of course, time to caffeinate, to hydrate, to have lunch. So all of that is built in for you, but it is based around 3 hour long courses that you'll be taking, two of which you'll take on Fridays, oftentimes with a colloquium speaker series event, which is a course that we'll get into talking about a little bit later in the presentation. And then there's also time built in that you'll have an opportunity to just take in greater Yale and have some great experiences. Classes kick off at 8 a.m. sharp on Saturday mornings. But that enables you to leave New Haven to get back to home and back to life a little bit later in the day. We do have a la carte options, one of which is executive voice and presence, taught by an expert at Yale. Many of those sessions are taught by experts across our Yale ecosystem. So they're really interesting. So students do love sticking around for those when they become available. But otherwise, classes do wrap by 3 p.m. So you're making your way back to wherever home is for you. And the commute to campus, our students are coming in truly, any mode of transportation you can think of, they're coming in that fashion. So you'll see lots of representation here along the Eastern Seaboard, but then we do have students making further trips from California, Calgary, Texas, all over the U.S. and sometimes outside of the borders of the contiguous U.S. So really, people are utilizing trains. People are coming in by car. They're doing their flights into Tweed. Tweed Airport is an airport in New Haven that is always adding lots of flights. So something to keep an eye on and be thinking about as you might be thinking of a trip to campus to visit us in person. And then also we have shuttles that enable you to come in through, from Bradley, LaGuardia, JFK, Boston Logan. So there's a lot of different options for your travel.
And I will say it did test my geographic knowledge in trying to put some of these new dots on the map. Like I didn't know that Quebec was directly north of New Haven or exactly where in Albuquerque, New Mexico was in the state. So it was kind of fun. I got to do little Google Map searches for some of our new
Nice.
students and where they're coming in from. But yeah,
Exactly right. And so, there are those times though where it's just not possible to get to campus, and perhaps you've got something planned well in advance that you've got some event going on the home front, or something that is meaningful for you that you need to not be physically in New Haven in order to make it work, but you can make the class times work still. There is the ability to remote in from time to time. It is more the exception than the rule, I would say. The majority of students really want to be on campus as much as they possibly can to enjoy all of these offerings and to really be a part of the experience. But sometimes life happens, and so we do offer, I would say, a fair amount of flexibility to accommodate busy working professionals with very full lives.
yeah, and it definitely happened last year. We had a number of days where there are huge snowstorms, and it just makes it
Yeah.
very difficult. So we try to be flexible where we can. But again, when we spoke to our students, they really, really wanted to be here as much as they possibly could because it is not only just what you're having in the classroom, but it is these connections that you're making with your classmates, with the people a year ahead of you or behind you, the professors, and the entire Yale community. And so I did want to walk over what the curriculum looks like and how we've broken it up. In year one, everyone goes together through what's our integrated core. This is really these key business courses that everyone needs to know. We have people that are coming in from a variety of different professions. So yes, we do have the business people and finance and accountants and actuaries, but we also have doctors and surgeons and nurses and engineers and people from the military or the entertainment world. And for many of them, they really want to level up their business skills. And so this often happens in our first year. In year two, this is where you have the opportunity to really take a deep dive into some of the elective courses that we offer, and then continue on with some of those management courses that you took in the first year and do some advanced management electives as well. There's a broad range of disciplines that you'll have in that second year. There is a course called the Executive, which is a capstone course that really helps students think about how you would look at a business as an executive does. Throughout the entire time, leadership development is built in, as well as our colloquium speaker series, which is a class that brings in experts from around many different fields that will have kind of smaller, more intimate conversations with the students while they're in the program. And so I do want to kind of walk through a little bit about the courses that you would be going through. So in year one, All of the classes in the cohort are together. So you're with your entire cohort together, and you're taking classes in things, a little bit different than some other business schools would have them organized. So you're taking courses in what we call organizational stakeholder perspective. So it might be something called the investor, the competitor, the customer, the innovator. And so you're looking at things through the lens of how an executive would see the different functions of their business. When you do pull out one of them, for example, sourcing and managing funds, you are going to be touching on things like finance and strategy and operations and accounting, but it's through that lens of sourcing and managing funds. Some of our classes are co-taught, so you're going to have maybe a person from finance or a person from accounting, a professor that's doing this, and this is their expertise. And this is where they're going to give you a little bit more information on those particular areas. Another thing that's very unique to Yale is we use something called the raw case method. There are many business cases out there, but many of them have already happened. And so it's something that's been done. You're reading about it kind of like a post-mortem where you're looking at this thing as it's already taken place. In the raw cases, these are things where there's not really a clear answer. You're given a lot of information. It could be financial reports, 10K reports, or analyst reports. It might be interviews with various people, or even news reports. And you have to sift through all of this data. And you and your team will be working together. The professor kind of curates this, so you're able to take a look at these cases. And you have to come up with some suggestions. And there may not be a right answer because honestly, these things are still ongoing. I'll use an example. We had a student from a few years ago where our raw case team did an example of his business, and he managed a five-star resort in Fiji, and realized that this is there's a lot of things on the climate change. They were the main employer on the island. They used most of the resources. And so it was a way to like, how do you run this as a sustainable operation when you have all these different outside factors? Of course, you want to have a successful business, but you also want to be a good steward of the environment and as well as the local population as well. And so this was a case that was done in conjunction with the raw case writing team. And I know he invited some of his classmates and their families to go and spend some time at the resort in Fiji, which I'm sure was a very, very difficult decision to make. But it was an opportunity for them to get out and see his business and how it worked. We did mention in between years one and two, you are going to be attending your Global Network Week. Yale is the founding member of the Global Network for Advanced Management, and it's now a consortium of 33 of the top business schools around the world. And our students are given a choice. They can choose either a geographic location that they really want to choose to go to, or a subject area. And what you'll be doing is you're going to one of these partner schools. You're taking classes at this university through some of their top faculty and some of their most requested and sought after courses. And you will be with some of your classmates from Yale, maybe. Sometimes you just go individually, but you're going to be with people from all of the different schools within the global network. And so you have the opportunity not only to go to a new location, to learn about a new subject, but also really to build your international network. And there's a lot of different people that are out there. And just to highlight some of the choices, and it was great hearing some of our students and their stories of what they did and when they came back from University of Cape Town in South Africa. This was a course about doing business in Africa, really, where they learned about the challenges facing one of the most unequal countries on earth, and solutions provided at the ground level, working with entrepreneurs on the ground. In Switzerland, there was one at IMD, which was about digital business transformation, or there's one in Singapore about blockchain applications in finance. There's a real estate course in Oxford University in England. And we also do have a more informal exchange program with both Oxford University and HEC in Paris, where our students, in addition to their Global Network Week, also have the opportunity to possibly go to those universities and take additional courses throughout the course of their program here in the Executive MBA. So there's a lot of opportunities. As you get into your second year, this is where you're going to have a little bit more flexibility. So you're really going to deepen your management experience, but you're also going to have an opportunity to, you'll take things like business ethics or advanced negotiations, corporate finance. These are things that all of our students will look at. You'll also have a chance to take electives from across a broad range of disciplines. And I've had a number of actually phone calls, even this morning. In the past, we did have three areas of focus. These are still areas that we specialize in: asset management, healthcare, and sustainability. But you no longer have to commit to one of those areas of focus. You have the opportunity to take elective courses from a broad range of different fields. You can, if you would like to, still specialize in one of those areas if that's something you would really like to do. You don't have to decide that when you're applying. You actually have throughout your first year. You don't even have to decide that really until you take, you select your electives in year two. So you can take classes from across a broad variety of disciplines, or you can choose to specialize. And I think, we wanted to kind of show some of the different things that you would be able to take. For example, healthcare economics or investing in alternative asset classes, applied private equity. These are all different classes where you have an opportunity to take electives and you can kind of craft your second year. There's over 25 options for courses that you can take in that second year, and you have an opportunity to really, curate a program that is going to help you reach the goals that you're going to be looking for. So if you are a person that's working for a large organization and you want to make steps to advance in that organization, there are courses that you can do for that. If you are thinking maybe of getting out of the business world and working for yourself and starting your own entrepreneurial venture, definitely there's things that you can do for that. If you're already running your own business, there are a lot of people that are doing that in our program, and they're looking either to expand their business or maybe they're getting towards the end of their career and they're looking for ways that they can successfully exit that business, whether you're selling it or you're kind of moving on. And so there's a lot of people that are doing different things. So there really is no typical story of students and how they're going through the program. One thing that we get asked out about a lot, and this has come up in the last year and a half, is AI. And this is something that we've been very, very thoughtful about. And there's a number of new courses that are going to be launched over the next year and then even going into the future. Yale as a university is investing, I believe it's over $150 million in all things AI. And so this is kind of some of the things that are going to be that our students both in the executive program and in our full-time residential program are going to be doing. Number one is an AI core course. All of our students will be really learning about the practical applications of AI tools, building agents and structuring and utilizing large data sets. Even just some of the applications that are available to study. I was talking to a student recently who comes in from Pittsburgh and she drives, and it's a little bit of a longer drive, but there's some programs out there where you can make your own podcast based on case studies. And so she'll read the case studies, but on her drive to campus, she's listening to a podcast that's been created by AI that kind of goes over the highlights. And it's a great way for our students really to utilize these things. And a lot of this will be covered in that core course. Again, expanding in our first year in courses like the Innovator and Workforce and State and Society. AI is being built into these courses. Our professors are starting to utilize these things, and they're encouraging our students to utilize them as well, because it really is an agent and a tool to help you do business and to help you to get through a lot of this information that is out there. And then as you look to our elective courses, we are starting to add a lot more elective courses. Two of them that are coming up this year is generative AI for managers, strategy, innovation, and artificial intelligence are also new to the curriculum. So really looking into what is out there and what we would like to kind of show our students and give them the opportunities really to be on the forefront of things that are happening with AI and business, and also with that societal implication, because there are a lot of societal implications as we start thinking about that. One thing a lot of people tell me as they come into this program is they really want to build up their leadership skills. They may have been an engineer and they're working on very technical projects, but as you start to advance in both your career and your level and even just your age, sometimes you start taking on the responsibility for a larger team and for maybe working with those younger engineers who will start doing more of the work, and then you're being asked to be the leader, or you're starting to be asked to think more strategically. So we have a number of ways that we do this. We have leadership development courses that are through the program. We also have individual and team coaching in the program where you're able to really work together with with these coaches and within your teams to really start trying to build out the way that's going to look for you in your career. It's really that you're going to have people too that are at different points in their career. Some of them are a little bit more senior that have been leading large teams. You're going to have people that are maybe a little bit more on the junior side, but that's the real world. You're going to have people that are coming in, but they're all looking to kind of level up their skills. And so there's a number of opportunities that you can do to build your leadership skills. As mentioned, we do have a colloquium speaker series. These are some really top people from around the industry that our faculty have curated. Many of times they're very good friends. There's some examples here. A few last year, actually, we had the Undersecretary for Health for the Department of Veterans Affairs was here. We have had Mandy Cohen, who was the former director of the CDC. And they'll speak very, very candidly with our students. We usually do not well, actually, we never record these sessions, so our students and the speakers can really be open and honest about some of the challenges that are facing them in their industries, or even just in trying to lead large organizations. I've had the opportunity to sit in on a number of these sessions, and it really is fascinating to hear from people that are running very, very large organizations and some of the challenges that they have to face coming into this role. Maybe they had never done that before. And so our students have the opportunity to meet with them and to really, really, kind of ask them questions that you might normally not be able to ask. Just take a sip of water really quick. There's also a lot of additional opportunities. One thing we love to say is that Yale is yours. You have the ability to really connect with everything that we have here at the university. One, for entrepreneurs, we have our Sci Center for Innovative Thinking, which is really an entrepreneurial think tank that's open not just to School of Management students, but people from across the university. We're going to be doing an entrepreneurship webinar in about a month or so. And one of our students actually utilized this very, very well as she was transitioning from her world as a fashion designer in fast fashion and trying to think about how she could take those next steps in her career. You can do independent research. We've had students that have written papers, even written a book with our professors. So you have the opportunity to find professors that you think would be good to work with and connect with them. Also, as part of that global network for advanced management, we have some small network online courses. These are opportunities for you to take additional courses outside of the EMBA program from all these universities across the world. The only caveat is you have to be able to be awake at the time that they're going to be happening. So if there's a 6 hour or 10 hour or 14 hour time difference, you're going to be doing them because they are virtual and they are synchronous. So you're not going to be, it's not something you're going to be watching. You're going to be part of those classes. And then the other thing, this is very unique, is that you do have the ability to take elective courses from across other schools here at Yale University. Sometimes we have our students taking full-time SOM courses. Other times they may be taking classes at the law school or the med school or even undergrad classes. All of those classes are going to be during the week and in person, so you do have to be able to make it work. But we've had a lot of students that have taken advantage of this. And so there's a lot of opportunities for you to really to kind of craft a program because 2 years when you're young seems like a really long time, but it goes very fast. So you have to come into this really with a mindset of this is what I'm hoping to get out of this, and here's the connections that I'm going to try to make, and really really to take a deep dive into this during your 22 months on campus. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Emily, and we're going to talk a little bit about the admissions process. So, Emily.
Yes, thanks, Keith. As you're thinking about your next steps and how to join this incredibly exciting program and this amazing opportunity, we do have a standard process that's very streamlined. We do have a lot of consideration for how busy those that are looking at this program will likely be. So here is kind of how it's laid out. So you will submit your application by one of our 3 discrete round deadlines. It's not rolling admissions. There's 3 specific round deadlines that we adhere to year over year. Once you've submitted all of your materials by that round deadline, we will begin our work of reviewing those applications. We truly do this in an analog sort of a way. We really do read through everything line by line, reviewing transcripts, etc. And then we come together for an admissions committee review where we spend days really hashing these things out and thinking about who we would like to see for the next phase of this process, which would be an interview day. Our interview days are typically held on campus during a class weekend. So that's a great opportunity for you to get to know us a little bit better and for us to get to know you better. And then we return to our review, and then we issue our final decisions by each of those deadlines. And then you've got a little bit of time to make your decision. And then there's an enrollment reply deadline, in which we'd like to know if you'll be joining us. So some of the components that you can expect are pretty standard for what you can expect in a lot of other business schools you might be considering. We're looking for a resume. 1 to 2 pages is fine. We understand if it's a little bit more than that, especially if you're a little bit more of a seasoned professional with lots of experience. Sometimes folks in the healthcare field, or people that are doing a lot of different presentations, or maybe they are contributing to research or journals or things like that. It might be something a little bit more robust, and that's okay with us too. Do your best to think about your resume in terms of this is for business school. So definitely polishing up what you've got on your desktop and gearing it to this opportunity will make a lot of sense. And I think we'll read a lot better. So that's a little bit of a quick app tip for you. We've got some short EMBA essays. We rework these every year to help us to get to a finer point of who you are, what drives you, what interests you, and how you will meaningfully contribute to this cohort. We have video questions as a component. It is something that we tend to recommend. They've only ever been additive in our experience of getting to know an applicant a little bit better. And it does put face to name. It's kind of the last thing we look at in your application package so that it's not otherwise swaying our review of your candidacy. And it is just, it's pretty standard. There's practice questions. It's doable. And certainly achievable. So we can talk about that a little bit more as you're considering your personal application process, if you got questions about that. Letters of recommendation, we only require one at this time. We'll accept more than one if you think it would be helpful to have more than one perspective on your candidacy. We do require a valid executive assessment, EA, GMAT or GRE score at the time of your application submission. So everyone needs to take an exam, even if you're a brain surgeon, even if you've got many years of work experience. It is that more recent data point that helps us to understand your preparedness for business school, especially on that quantitative level. We've got a lot of great information about that, and we're happy to chat more individually about how to move forward with taking an exam. We tend to recommend the EA for those in our population because it is a 90-minute test, so not a huge lift in terms of the time to sit down and take it, and about 15 to 30 hours to prepare for it. There's a number of ways to go about doing that as well. And then transcripts from all colleges and universities you've attended for credit. So definitely want to see everywhere you've been. And then an employer approval form. At the time that you are invited to interview, we will be reaching out to the person that you've indicated in this section of your application to say, hey, you know, this person wants to do this, right? Because it is 60 plus days out of the office. And we want to make sure that everyone in your world knows that you're doing this and is excited for you. So definitely happy to talk through that as you're starting to have those conversations. An application fee is required at the time of your submission, and then of course coming in for an interview day. So you'll see the 3 round deadlines indicated here. Interviews are held during a class weekend because it oftentimes means that you get to sit in on a class and do some other some other interesting things on campus with us, and then our decisions are released in kind of those rough time frames as well. So in terms of when you should apply, it's really up to you. We would love to see your application when you're feeling the most prepared, the most ready to make a decision, and the most ready to join us. Ideally, that is for the class of 2029, with classes that start in July of 2027. Anything to add
Excellent. Yeah.
there, Keith?
Yeah, I was just going to say on the EA, I noticed there was a question coming in about that,
Yeah.
about the EA. But we will accept all three of them. We tend to get mostly executive assessment exams. I took it myself. Emily's going to take it at some point, and some of the other team members took the test. But I did find a couple of things. Number one is that I definitely needed some refresher on some of my math. I'd done it years ago, but when you're taking a test that's only 90 minutes long, you want to make sure that you know what you're getting into. It's not a huge lift, but it is something that we would like to see that you're doing. The other thing too is that if you're really struggling to find time to carve out to get ready for the test, that might be a good indicator that it might be tough for you to do the program because the amount of time you spend of getting ready for the test is about what you're going to put in to prep for a class weekend. So those the in between those 2 weeks is about the same amount of time. And so I always tell people like if you're really struggling to get ready for your test, you're going to have a hard time doing our program. And so you might want to even think about, carve some time out, whether it be during your work day or if you have some time on the weekends or you have a vacation time, you'll want to have some time to get ready for that test. But, to prepare for it early is really important. So that is something that you want to think about. The other thing too, and Emily wrote a really nice article about this, about maybe having that conversation with your employer, because it is an ask to have time away from the office and for the travel that would be involved in coming to a program like this. So there is some good tips, but honestly, what we see from a lot of people is that it's not just something you're doing for yourself, but it's things that you're going to be able to apply to your job and your work immediately when you go back to the office on Monday. And I hear this from students all the time. So yes, it is a benefit for you, but it really also is a benefit for your company, whether it's your own or it's you're working for somebody else. And so I think that having that conversation is really, really important to do that. And just a couple of things that we could think that you might want to think about, doing next. Definitely, if you have not yet already, we offer a pre-assessment. So you can go in, submit your resume or a LinkedIn profile, and one of us, I promise it actually is one of us, will review that and take a look at your profile, and then give you some ideas on next steps. Offer a phone call or an opportunity to meet us. If you're in New York City tomorrow night, we're going to be having a happy hour there. We're going to start up our on-campus information sessions. They will start on our first class weekend on August 15th, and we'll have them throughout the fall and into the spring. But we always do those on a class weekend. We're going to be having a webinar coming up about the executive assessment, one on the entrepreneurs, one for nonprofits coming up. So definitely, there's a lot of opportunities for you to connect in the near future with us. If you have any questions, our email address, emba.admissions@yale.edu, is there. That goes to all of us on the admissions committee, and we will kind of direct it based on the question. And we'll definitely get back to you. So there actually are humans on the other end of this process. So I can definitely assure you of that. This is our team. This is our team. We have a wonderful team that works with our admissions folks, but we also have a program team that does take care of the students while they are here. We know we have very, very busy working professionals. They are going to be, their days are jam-packed. When they are on campus, they go from one thing to the next thing. We have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. So that was one of the questions that came through. I saw that, do we provide food and things like that and lodging? We do actually provide lodging for the residency week. So the 2 weeks at the start of the program in July, the 1 week in between years 1 and 2, and as well as the Global Network Week. During the class weekends, we've arranged this year with 4 hotels locally for corporate rates for our students to stay, and they have some opportunities to stay at those hotels. We do have some people that are local. We also have people that end up moving to New Haven because their jobs are mostly remote, so that is an option as well. We have people as they start to get to know each other, they decide, hotels are nice, but why don't we get an apartment together for the next year? And they share that. That's kind of nice. If you're flying in and you have your clothes, you could have your business clothes and your gym clothes or whatever there, and that's an opportunity as well. But we do provide food while you're here on campus in between all of the breaks, as well as at lunch, and offer it, often sometimes in the evenings as well. There is something called the EMBA 15, which is very similar to the freshman 15, if you remember that from undergrad. And so I know a lot of our students have been going out and running and biking and doing some other things during the program. So with that, we do have some time. I know we kind of talked a little bit long, but I'm happy to hang on and answer some questions. I'm going to turn off the slide sharing so you can see our faces a little bit better. Emily, I'm not sure if you can see some of the questions coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, I actually saw a great one in the Q&A from Todd. He said, "How do military and veteran students typically contribute to the classroom experience?" I think, we have great representation from our veterans and our service members in the program. So that's really exciting for us, is to have their leadership as part of our program. But I know you've been really close with the Veterans Affairs Office as well, Keith. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have a wonderful yellow ribbon program as well for our military vets that really does help to cover the cost depending on how much you have support from the government. Somebody is asking about the cost of the program. Next year's cost is not up yet on the website, though the current cost for this year's class is, I believe it's 229,000 US dollars. I could be off by slightly on that for the entire 2 years. Some people will always ask about scholarships. That are available. We have limited scholarships, merit-based scholarships, but there's a lot of different ways that people will be looking to afford this program. We've also worked. There's been some major changes to the federal student loans this year. Yale as a university has been very proactive in working with some private lenders to offer very competitive late rates on student loans to help make up some of that difference for the federal loans that are being capped at a quite lower level. So there's a lot of information. We're going to be doing a financial aid webinar, but it is something you're definitely going to want to start thinking about. This is a lift. I mean, it is definitely both financially, but also your time, your travel, both professionally and personally too. A lot of our students do have significant others, spouses, parents, young children, college age children. We just had our family picnic last Sunday, and we had probably 400 plus people here. It was wonderful to see all of the support that they do get from their families, and because it does take a lot to make this program work. So.
Oh, and I just saw another really good question, Keith, about the EA and how it relates to undergraduate GPAs or previous GPAs you might have in your educational background. And I'll say to that, it is something we're looking at in tandem with your previous academic record, because it does have the ability to tell us a little bit about who you are now, your ability to study now, the things you've learned since leaving school, and also, we're really looking at career trajectory, I would say, with a little bit of a finer and closer eye, because you may have achieved a lot in your life and career since you've previously been in an academic program. So I would argue that really, having a strong EA score can oftentimes help with something that you can't necessarily fix or rewrite, which is your academic background. Obviously it's a rigorous program. We want to make sure people are prepared for a classroom environment, but this is one thing that can help us to see your potential, and where you are right now. So I hope that that's helpful and perhaps encouraging.
Yeah, and I think also on the test scores, somebody else asked if we had a preference for any of the exams. We don't really. You can take any of them. I would recommend the EA. The GRE is maybe a little bit more getting into things like trigonometry and stuff like that you don't really need to know for an executive MBA program. It's a lot less preparation. The scores that we're looking for, while we don't really have an official like cutoff line, we tell people 150 overall on the EA or higher, and there's three sections and a 10 or higher on each of the three sections. It's something good to shoot for. So when you start taking your practice tests, if you're coming in within that range, that's great. Definitely, that's where you'd kind of want to be. If it's a little bit lower than that, you might want to start thinking about ways that you can prepare for it. There's a great course. It's a self-paced course called MBA Math, which is an opportunity for you to kind of build some of those skills that you might need for doing that. So good questions about the exam. One person did ask about for people that are not working. Unfortunately, that is a non-starter. Everyone must be employed full-time while in the program. And so another question came in about for entrepreneurs, how does the employer approval work for that? For people that are self-employed, you basically sign off for yourself. You have to just commit to doing the program. That also happens too for people that might be at the top of their organization. They already all are the CEO, that you will be signing off on for yourself. When you look at recommendation letters, though, what we always tell people is you really don't want to have anybody that directly reports to you, a subordinate, writing a recommendation letter for you. So it's better to have maybe one of your longest standing clients or a consultant that you've worked with for a long time, if it's in that type of a relationship. So very a lot of things to consider. There's some questions that are coming through that are a little bit maybe more personal or related to like specific application questions. What I would say is definitely send us an email to emba.admissions@yale.edu, and we can definitely kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts of some of these questions. Hopefully some of these things have helped. I'm going to see if there's any other questions that we did not answer. Feel free if there's anything else that we didn't ask, happy to help answer that. We are going to get towards the end of this in just a little bit. So once again, really happy to connect with anybody individually. If you have some additional questions as well. Here's one that just came in from Stephanie or Steven, sorry. How many classes do you take in the program at a time? Okay. So, and the pizza question, somebody wants to know. There's different opinions about New Haven pizza.
Lots of
I,
opinions.
I personally have a favorite, but we're not going to tell you which one's better because you have to figure that out for yourself. But our program is very unique, actually. This is a good question because some people will ask if we accept like transfer credits from other MBA programs. We do not, because our program is structured very uniquely. Classes are modular in format. So some classes, for example, in the 2-week residency in the summer, there's classes that will exist just in that 2-week residency, and then there's some final exams and things that happen after that, but they're basically done after the residency. Some classes will start in August and they go through October. Other ones will be starting and stopping at different times. So they are modular in format, and everybody does go through them lockstep. So we don't have people that are transferring into the program midway. Everybody starts together, goes through everything together, and then we'll be graduating together in 22 months. So the courses are they're structured a little bit more uniquely than maybe other programs out there. So hopefully this was helpful for people. I did see some questions about military. Feel free to reach out to us. We have people in financial aid here at SOM that work exclusively with our military folks. So there's a lot of different things out there. Somebody did ask about transcripts for multiple degrees. We do
Oh, I'm
require.
typing an answer to them right
Okay.
now.
Okay, we do require transcripts from all institutions attended. So even if, for example, if you started at one school and you transferred an undergrad to another, we need the original transcript. The we don't need official transcripts for the time of application, but we do need the transcripts from
Mhm.
all of the different schools. If admitted and enrolling, we work with a third-party verification service, and they will require your official transcripts, especially for students that may have gone to schools outside of the country, outside of the United States. You'll want to start just making sure you know how to get those transcripts eventually if you are admitted and enroll, because I do know it takes a little bit of extra time sometimes internationally. So.
And I do quickly want to, add to your response for Stefan or Stephen. I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong. But in any case, for how many classes you're taking at a time, it's 4 classes. But the way it's staggered when you first start in orientation and residency is you're getting into those core courses. You're taking like your first 1 or 2, and that way you're never like starting 4 brand new classes at a point or doing 4 finals at a point. It's kind of like a domino effect sort of a thing where you're kicking a class off, and then you're adding classes and then taking those classes away. And the program team does a really good job of making sure that you know everything that's going on, when certain things are due, and making sure that you stay prepared ahead of time for everything, so that you're able to know everything that's going on along the way. So you're very well supported by our peers on the program team, as you're picking up classes and doing your finals and other classes, et cetera.
Yeah, that said, though, sometimes students will say when they have 2 classes that are finishing and 2 classes that are starting at the same time, it's a lot because you're trying to like
Sure.
wrap up your finals and you're also trying to get your readings done for your new classes that are starting. So, we talk a lot about this with our students when they start the program, but being able to manage your time, be able to block your time because you do want to make sure you have time for your work, your real work, and you want to make sure you still have time for your family and your children and your spouse or whoever else is important in your life, but you also want to get your work done. So, these are big decisions. I'm glad that we've had so many people and so many really good questions here because this is not something that people undertake lightly. This is a full MBA program. Sometimes people have that misconception that an executive MBA is MBA light. At Yale, that is not the case. This is as rigorous as our full-time program, even if more so, because people are working and trying to manage families as well. So it really takes a lot of thought, and sometimes we do see people, it takes them many years from the time of first talking to us to the time where they actually apply and enroll, because there might be just one thing in their life that's not really working out, and it's really important that you want to make sure that it is the right time for you. So. One quick question about the in-person information sessions. Somebody asked if it is okay to leave early. Generally, they run from about 10 to 3, 10 a.m. to 3. It is required that you come to the first part, which is kind of the admissions introduction part of that. Then you'll have an opportunity to have lunch with our current students, ask them whatever you would like, and then go to a class in the afternoon. You don't have to stay for the class if you don't have the time for that. We do ask, if you do attend it, that you only leave at the halfway point at the break, which is usually about like 1:30. So you can stay for the whole thing, or you can leave at the halfway point. But we're respectful because these are live classes for our students. We like to try to minimize the disruption as much as possible. But we also want to give our prospective students the opportunity to really see what the program is all about. So you're
Great.
welcome. All right,
And thank you
this has been
everyone
fun.
for being here with us. This has been really great. And so just so nice to have such a nice full room and so many great live questions too.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. And hopefully we have a chance to meet you all in person at one of our upcoming events, either on campus, off campus. We will be traveling around the United States and maybe some other countries as well in the near future. So hopefully we'll all see you then. So thank you very much.